but we have a more important issue to deal with right now. We have a very important guest joining us today, someone that has been called a potential attorney general pick for Donald Trump. Mike Davis is joining us today. Mike, I'm glad you're here, sir. You're getting a lot of attention. You, the president and founder of the Article 3 Project. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me. And I always laugh and tell people that there's no chance in hell I could get confirmed as Attorney General. I used to be the chief counsel for nominations on the Senate Judiciary Committee, so I'm fully self-aware. But I do want to be Trump's viceroy, and so I am actively lobbying for that.
Donald Trump's viceroy. I'm not sure I know the duties of a viceroy. Do you care to share?
Well, I'm not accountable to courts. I'm not accountable to Congress, and I just implement his tyrannical impulses anytime he wants. And so I'm ready to serve.
Well, I bet you there's a lot of people who line up for that job position, too, as well. There's a lot of people who say, yeah, I got that. Although some might say, if you're not accountable to anybody, that's kind of what the Democrats consider to be the presidency.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's going to be like Hunter Biden, right? Except for less cocaine and hookers. So, but I am ready to serve.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. But you're also apparently part of a group that is known, according to Axios, as America's seething right. Are you seething, Mike?
I am seething, but I'm going to turn my seething anger into a positive thing, and that positive thing is to help President Trump win in a landslide victory on November 5th, 2024, and help to channel all the anger of real Americans in real America towards that goal of putting President Trump back in that White House, because his Justice Department has a lot of work to do to end this republic-ending lawfare by these Biden Democrats, including President Biden, his White House staff, including Jonathan Sue, his deputy White House counsel at the time, Gary Stern, the general counsel at the National Archives, Jay Bratz, at the Justice Department who organized and orchestrated the Mar-a-Lago raid on Trump for presidential records he was allowed to have. That led to one of Jack Smith's indictments, and the other one was the January 6th indictment. I think this Justice Department needs to investigate Soros-funded Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg and Matthew Colangelo, who deployed from the Biden Justice Department, and this Democrat Judge Juan Merchan, this corrupt judge who should have recused because his daughter was raising millions of dollars off of this case requiring his recusal under New York statute, but he retaliated against President Trump with an unconstitutional gag order. We need to investigate Big Fannie Willis down in Georgia, along with her dumb, unqualified boyfriend, Nathan Wade, for their part of this criminal conspiracy by Biden and his aides and his allies to go after Trump. You have Tish James in New York. I mean, Chris Mays out in Arizona is starting a new criminal indictment against Trump supporters, named Trump as an unindicted co-conspirator. You have so many Democrats, prosecutors, and judges and witnesses and other operatives who are running this criminal conspiracy against President Trump to violate his constitutional rights. 18 USC 241 and 18 USC 242, very serious civil rights felonies under our federal criminal statutes, up to 10 years in prison, and the Trump 47 Justice Department must open a criminal probe on day one.
We're speaking with the unconfirmable Mike Davis, unconfirmable by his own admission. And Mike, you talk about Alvin Bragg and Matthew Colangelo that should be forced to tell their story. Jim Jordan has already made that demand. Do you think that's actually going to happen? Will Bragg and Colangelo show up and testify before Congress?
Well, they don't need to show up and testify before Congress, as far as I understand, because Jim Jordan didn't actually issue a subpoena for their documents and for their testimony. I think he just sent a strongly worded letter. And if I got a strongly worded letter without a subpoena, I would laugh and say, shove it. I'm not showing up. I think the only way you can actually legally compel Alvin Bragg and Matthew Colangelo, two Biden operatives who are at the tip of the spear in this criminal conspiracy against Trump, the only way you can do that is through a subpoena. So I think Jim Jordan should stop issuing letters and start issuing subpoenas.
Well, I agree with you. I'd like to see that happen. I don't know if he's got the. Why would you waste time with a strongly worded letter when we all know what happens? They end up in the circular file, and you get the pound sand response. Basically, why would we waste time and not go straight to subpoenas? Are we playing too nice?
I've been saying this for the last 24 months since President Biden ordered an illegal, unconstitutional, unlawful, unnecessary raid on President Trump in the office of former president in Mar-a-Lago for presidential records that Trump was allowed to have under the Presidential Records Act. And Biden and Jonathan Sue and Jay Bratt and Gary Stern orchestrated this raid because Trump declassified and kept his Crossfire Hurricane presidential records that are so damning to Obama, to Biden, to Hillary, to the FBI, to the AG, to the CIA, to so many people in the federal government. They made up the Russian collusion hoax on Trump and the Crossfire Hurricane investigation, lied to the FISA court, got illegal spy warrants on then candidate Trump, got illegally spied on him, even as the president of the United States. And they did this because they wanted to cover up Hillary Clinton's pay-for-play foreign bribery schemes when she was the Secretary of State. And she had the Clinton Foundation bribery scheme. She thought she deleted her home server. She thought she destroyed the phones. Remember BleachBit and wiped the phones? She thought she did that, but the Russians and Chinese almost certainly hacked that home server, and they were going to release it. Russia may have released it before the 2016 election, and that's why the Obama-Biden-Hillary regime made up the Russian collusion hoax on Trump, because if that server came out and showed the Clinton Foundation's not only the most classified secrets imaginable on that server, but their foreign corruption, the Clintons' foreign corruption. And so they wanted to be able to blame it on a dirty trick by the Trump campaign, and that's how we got the Russian collusion hoax. And you say, that sounds crazy. How can you possibly say that they ran the same play in 2020 with Hunter Biden's laptop? They had the CIA work with the 51 former intel officials to say that laptop had all the hallmarks of a Russian disinformation campaign. They had big tech deplatform the New York Post, America's oldest newspaper. They made it where you couldn't even post the link of the story online, right? And then Trump declassified Crossfire Hurricane records before he left office, and that is what this lawfare is all about. That they are so worried that Trump is going to release those records. He tried to do it through the Trump versus Hillary civil lawsuit down in the Southern District of Florida. And Magistrate Judge Bruce Reinhart was on that case. And he had to recuse from that case because he had a 2017 Facebook post trashing Trump, requiring his recusal from that case. 6 weeks later, guess what? We had the raid that Ms. Reinhart, who had just recused on this case, ordered, with Jay Bratt, with Gary Stern, with Jonathan Sue and the Biden White House. That's what this lawfare is all about, is they are so scared these Crossfire Hurricane records are going to come out, and they keep piling on with criminal indictment after criminal indictment after criminal indictment. They would rather see Trump die in prison than face Trump on November 5th, 2024. And God forbid he gets back into the White House and releases these Crossfire Hurricane records, because Crossfire Hurricane is probably the biggest scandal in American history.
And that's a pretty big claim, that Crossfire Hurricane is the biggest scandal in American political history, or in all of American history. Talking with Article 3 Project founder Mike Davis. Now, Mike, you have said publicly what you want to do with the project is to take off the gloves and put brass knuckles on in the fight against lawfare. What's the next step? Is it trying to encourage attorneys generals in Florida and Georgia to go after Democrats for election interference against Donald Trump?
Yeah, I said I wanted to take off the gloves, put on the brass knuckles, and then break their glass jaws. So I want to include that part. So
okay,
yes, we need to.
I'm sorry I left that out.
Yeah, that's the most important part. So yes, we absolutely need to fight back against this lawfare. That these are illegitimate, lawless, crime-free indictments against President Trump. They still do not know what the crime is against President Trump in New York after a multi-week trial, these bogus jury instructions where you just ignored the law. And this judge told the jury they don't even have to unanimously agree on what the second crime is that somehow transforms a bookkeeping misdemeanor. It wasn't even a misdemeanor because a legal expense is a legal expense, and these were in his private books, not his business books. And how can it affect the 2016 election for a 2017 bookkeeping entry? How does that affect the 2016 election? But putting all that aside, look, there are real crimes that President Biden and his allies have committed, including this criminal conspiracy against rights, and we need to start fighting back. We need House Republicans to do more instead of strongly worded letters. We need subpoenas for documents. We need subpoenas for witnesses. We need staff depositions. We need public hearings. And these state AGs, like Chris Carr, the Attorney General down in Georgia, and then the Attorney General down in Florida, should be doing more. They should be opening their own criminal probes on this criminal conspiracy, where these overt acts of this criminal conspiracy, major overt acts, are happening in the courtrooms right now in Florida and Georgia.
Well, Mike, why don't those happen? Why don't those investigations happen? The Democrats don't seem to have a problem opening up investigations on the flimsiest of premises when we have serious legal standing. Why don't those AGs open up investigations?
Well, I think that's a very good question to ask Georgia Attorney General Chris Carr and Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody. And we should ask them, why are they doing this? Like, why is Chris Carr, for example, allowing Fani Willis and her dumb, unqualified boyfriend, Nathan Wade? Why is Chris Carr allowing this public corruption where they have this illegal kickback scheme where Nathan Wade is paying Fani Willis with these lavish trips around the world based upon kickbacks that he's getting from the $700,000 that he has billed to the Fulton County taxpayers for that criminal case against Trump. She's paying him $250 an hour. He illegally hired her boyfriend. She's illegally paying her boyfriend, and her boyfriend is illegally giving her kickbacks in the form of these lavish trips. And then they both lied about it on the stand. They perjured themselves. They obstructed justice. Why hasn't the Attorney General for the state of Georgia stepped in and done something about that? Why hasn't he opened a criminal probe? And the Article 3 Project has an action link on this. If you go to article3project.org, article number 3project.org, click on Take Action, and then you can go to the Chris Carr action page, and then it tells you the background on this, and it helps you do patch-through phone calls to his office to tell him to open a criminal probe and then to light him up on social media and send him emails. But people need to get more engaged and hold these Republican politicians accountable, because oftentimes Republican politicians they talk a big game, but they're just total cowards and they don't do anything. And so it's our job to make sure that they're actually doing things to prevent this. Look, there's no way in hell that President Trump would be found guilty of 34 felonies and awaiting his criminal conviction and sentencing in New York if House Republicans and state AGs had done more to step up and fight this lawfare over the last 2 years. The reason that President Biden and these Biden Democrats have gotten away with this is because these Republican politicians let them walk through an open door.
You need to go to the number 3 project.org, article3project.org. Click on Take Action. Mike Davis, I would pay to watch a confirmation hearing with you, even if it meant you weren't going to get confirmed, because I just think the show would be worthwhile, worth the price of admission.
I could not do that to my former boss, Chuck Grassley. It would end his 60-year political career, so I would rather be Trump's viceroy.
I like it. Well, Viceroy, we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.